Hey, welcome to, there, close enough on the camera. Welcome to Sideways Coyote, 23 degrees. I'm sitting here kind of trying to find a corner in a public space to record. Today's a public holiday and everything's closed. The courts, the public library, everything, but apparently no one knows that it is a holiday. It's Columbus Day, so of course in political and ideological terms, it's one of those very difficult days for people to know is a holiday. So of course, everyone's trying to get in the library everywhere I try to record. And I kind of find it amusing because these are the library people who are supposed to be more informed or something, the way our cultural views work. I'd like to talk about ideological ownership. This is a really tough one. This is going to take several videos for me to actually get through. Probably going to take a half a dozen videos to condense to a coherent form. Probably going to use the example of UBI today, but I want to talk about ideological ownership. Bicycles is a perfectly good one. Electric cars is another one. I often mention that progressives, especially urban progressives, are very provincial. They don't ever go outside of their little zone. That's why they assume that every farmer is a dumb shit, right? Everyone who's rural must be idiotic and addicted to meth. You know, the standard progressive provincial bigotry. Well, all of the sides that are partisan, anyone who's highly partisan on any of the conflicts or games in life right now seems likely to run a certain set of programs about denying reality or denying utility to something. So for example, you can't have a discussion about UBI with a conservative because the conservatives have just let the progressives, the left, the socialists own the topic, own the definitions. Same with bicycles. Okay, bicycles are no longer a fundamentally libertarian form of transport. They are socialist, they're communist. Soccer, you know, somewhere along the way we gave the best basic health sport that has the largest capability of demographic performance. We gave it to the left, and it is now identified as a socialist game. And I really don't understand that one. That was so stupid, okay? But this is what people do. And it goes on both sides. You can't enjoy firearm shooting sports. There's a lot of outdoor activities that you can't enjoy and be considered a human being by the progressives. And it really is human being. This is what the progressives do. They dehumanize a lot. You know, you can't support certain types of economic policies without being dehumanized by the left. And you can't talk about it, okay? You can't talk about wind or solar power. You can't talk about nuclear power because they are an ideology, not a reality. So UBI, Universal Basic Income, is make no mistake, I do not see any way for it to work. I don't think it's a solution to the problem that is presented. Here's the problem that is presented. We have a technological basis that provides for the ability to have a core fundamental abundance. I don't know how you distribute, buy, sell, deal with the things, but our basic technology is such that we produce enough food for everyone on the planet. Anywhere there's starvation, it's caused by politics, by ideology, or by some weird edge case. Like you go off into Alaska with 50 pounds of rice for the whole winter, you starve to death. That's not a problem with production. We produce the food. We ended global starvation as a need, as a famine, as an uncontrollable output over a decade ago. Okay? Done. Solved problem. But of course, you have to deal with the ownership. Who owns the food? Who distributes the food? Who profits off the food? How do you do the money and the effort? Because if you make it so that you don't get a reward for the effort, then you fall back and people stop growing food because there's no point, and then things go awry. Generally speaking, housing is actually at the same technological level. A lot of the core how to stay alive stuff, we've kicked it. We've kicked it in the ass. But partly because of how we run economics, partly because of political power, a whole bunch of different reasons, we create an artificial scarcity out of that. And I'm not saying that I know any of the solutions to the problem, okay? I don't know quite how you get from we grow enough food to everyone has enough food to eat without making slaves out of farmers somehow. I don't know how you do that. It's like the free healthcare thing. This is another one, where we've gone past the reality of the problems and become just ideological puppets, if you're partisan, on positions. Okay, you can't be for free healthcare, not free healthcare. You can't be for socially funded healthcare if you're on the right. You just can't. You can't be for it at all. But if you're on the left, you can't approve of socially funded healthcare. It has to be government-provided free healthcare, which functionally requires making slaves out of healthcare workers. They are required to work no matter what. So you don't have a solution there. But you haven't. The way people own it is such that you don't have an ability. I just watched a guy make a wrong way turn on a one-way street and go to a traffic circle. It's bizarre. You can't discuss the topic because of the way people have owned the positions or the definitions, and they try to make it reality. You run into this a lot with UBI. Now, UBI doesn't solve the problem in the right way because UBI denies the problem. For the most part, the people on the left who like UBI have a couple of positions. They overlap. They're not universal. Not everyone who supports UBI wants to get rid of billionaires. But many people who support UBI at least in part because the idea is to redistribute wealth and take away from, tax, punish people who they see as richer or more privileged or whatever it is that they've got a hard-on about, have a case of ass over it. It's a negative. It's a take-away. The giving to people is secondary to the taking away. For a lot of people, UBI isn't about an economic thing. It's about a social justice thing. You've replaced the economics with social justice with an ideology, an ideological goal, and that doesn't work. That doesn't work. For a lot of people, UBI is a magic solution to all of the welfare problems. The thing is that if you take all the welfare and you simplify it to a single cash payment, then you don't have to worry anymore. Problem solved. Well, obviously not. I don't want to get into the weeds on UBI too much, but if you just give people money, a lot of those people will not have the money for the medical care that is part of what you gave them the money for. You gave them money so that they can pay for medicine, food, housing, whatever. Well, a lot of them are going to spend it on other stuff, spend it unwisely, and they're not going to be able to afford the appendectomy. So once again, you're stuck with socialized medicine or welfare systems, or they don't have enough food at the end of the month, or whatever it is. They didn't plan for their child care needs. So UBI doesn't solve anything because it's not structured correctly to solve any of the problems. Basic breakdown of where I think it goes wrong. But I can't talk about UBI. I can't talk about technological abundance with a conservative, because they're going to deny the possibility that it can exist. They're going to come up with all sorts of reasons why everything has to be privately owned, even if it's not, even if it's public. And you end up spiraling down, and you can't have the conversation. You can't talk about a Star Trek universe with a conservative, because they won't allow a reality of the topic. Just like you can't talk about the problems with UBI with a progressive, because they won't allow that the money basis is fundamentally flawed. They won't talk about the reality of the problem, what's being solved, or the reality of the situation. That scarcity, even in abundance, scarcity is a thing. Okay, it's the Romulan ale dichotomy. All right, everything in the Star Trek universe is free, replicators everywhere, but people still smuggle Romulan ale. It's still a black market. There's still some way of paying for it. You know, it's the progressive denies that. Just flat out denies it, because everyone's part of the system. Well, that doesn't work. Bicycles, solar power, nuclear power. Nuclear power is an absolute requirement to have a discussion about energy policy with many people on the right. You know, there is nothing else. There is nothing we can talk about. It's nuclear power or nothing. You know, and they use the same stupid arguments that Greenpeace used in the 90s when the Greenpeace was protesting wind power. Oh, it kills the birds. Oh, look what it does to the environment. Oh my God. Watching fiscal conservatives, energy conservatives parrot that makes me feel like the partisanship really does actually eliminate intelligent thought. So stupid. So back to basic topic. The thing is that people who become partisan on the game lines tend to lose their ability to address reality. You know, I was having a conversation about profits, and someone said that all extreme profits in a disruptive environment are just marketing and are not real. They're not real. They don't actually exist. They're lies, because they have a ideological attachment to sustainable technology. Therefore, profits cannot exist. Like, reality can't happen because of ideology. That's kind of insane. It is literally insane. And I don't know where I'm going to end up with this video series. I'm going to have to repeat this several times before I get the thoughts into a coherent whole. But there you go. Does your ideology prevent you from addressing reality, conceptualizing, talking about, comprehending, dealing with, even exploring? I see this a lot. I see it on both sides. I see it equally on both sides. And I think that you need to address that. I think that you need to address that internally. So that's it for this one. Stay sideways.